Today's topic is total knee replacement in valgus knee. Technically, it is very difficult to do knee replacement in severe valgus knees. You can easily do knee replacement in mild valgus, but difficult to do in a very severe valgus. We'll go through some of the literatures and recommendations by the experts in this field. It is a surgical challenge. There will be both bone and soft tissue abnormalities in valgus knee. The soft tissue structures on the posterior side and posterior lateral side will be contracted, and on the medial side may or may not be lax. These patients will have a bony abnormalities also. Osseous deficiency of the lateral femoral condyle and or tibial plateaus, external rotation deformity of the distal part of the femur, secondary remodeling of the femoral and tibial metadiaphyseal region, and patella maltracking. These are the bony changes in the valgus knee. There is one simple classification on valgus knee. Type 1 is minimal valgus with a medial soft tissue stretching. Type 2, more than 10 degrees valgus with a medial soft tissue stretching. Type 3, severe valgus after prior osteotomy with the incompetent medial soft tissue envelope. Coming to the treatment, it needs both correction of the ligament and bone defects. Whiteside recommended sequential releases of the iliotibial band, popliteus, lateral collateral ligament, and the lateral head of the gastrocnemius. He also performed a tibial tubercle transfer when the Q angle, the angle subtended by the quadriceps and the patellar tendon, was more than 20 degrees. Structures that origin close to the epicondylar axis of the femur affect flexion and extension almost equally. These are lateral collateral ligament, popliteal tendon, and posterolateral corner capsule. Iliotibial band and lateral posterior capsule are tight in extension only. The iliotibial band is parallel to the joint line in flexion, so it would not make a sense to release it if there is a tightness in flexion only. Hinsall in 1979 recommended a technique for doing a total knee replacement in valgus knee. He divided iliotibial band transversely above the joint line. The capsule, the lateral collateral ligament, and the popliteal tendon are detached from the lateral femoral condyle, and lateral retinaculum was routinely released longitudinally as well. Miyaska and Ranawat revised the technique of the soft tissue release in 1997. They released the contracted posterolateral aspect of the capsule in a graduated way intra-articularly, and the stepwise fashion along the so-called pie crusting of the iliotibial band. Too vigorous soft tissue releases might require more constant implants, which is not good for the patient. There is no consensus regarding the sequence in which one or all of these structures should be addressed. Now we will discuss some of the technical aspects of doing total knee replacement in valgus knee. Medialize the intramedullary alignment guide by 5 to 10 millimeter. Overcorrect by setting the valgus angle of the guide to 3 degrees instead of 6 degrees. Align the distal femur cutting guide parallel to the epicondylar axis. Tight soft tissue capsular structures in the lateral compartment are released intra-articularly at the level of tibial cut. The release is performed transversely from the lateral edge of the resected posterior cruciate ligament to the posterior margin of the iliotibial band. Electrocautery is used to avoid injury to the peroneal nerve, which is usually located 1 cm from the articular side. Both medial and lateral soft tissue sleeves should have an equal 2 to 3 millimeter opening when valgus or varus stress is applied with a spacer block in place. Coming to the Ranawat balancing technique, he recommends tibia first cut, extension gap balancing, that is by soft tissue releases, flexion gap balancing by adjusting the femoral cut. If the extension gaps remains unbalanced, then what to do? After the intra-articular release, the iliotibial band is lengthened in a controlled manner as necessary from the inside with the use of a so-called pie crusting technique, which consists of multiple oblique stab incisions 1 cm above the joint line. This process continues until a balanced extension gap has been achieved. If the flexion gap remains unbalanced, then no soft tissue release are performed with a knee inflection. Rather, femoral bone cuts are made to attain the correct soft tissue balance in the flexion. The rotational alignment of the femoral component is determined by placing an antero-posterior cutting block parallel to the tibial cut surfaces, while the laminar spread separates the posterior edge of the cutting block from the tibial cut surface. Potential downside of the flexion gap balancing by adjusting femur cuts. Anterior femur notching, as you adjust the position of the cutting block based on the posterior gap. Patellar maltracking, as you rotate the cutting block to make the medial and lateral flexion gap equal. In valgus knee, that should not be a problem, as you would externally rotate the block to make the medial and lateral flexion gap equal. External rotation might actually improve patellar tracking. In varus knee, that might be a problem, as you would internally rotate the cutting block to make the medial and lateral flexion gap equal. Internal rotation of the femur component, however, may cause problems with the patellar tracking. In the post-operative period, watch out for the peroneal nerve function after doing a total knee replacement in valgus knee. What happens if you undercorrect the valgus knee, especially in severe valgus knee? There is an article in 2018 Journal of Knee Surgery, Sports and Traumatology, Arthroscopy. They say you should avoid overcorrecting. Keeping a severe valgus knee in low valgus to avoid using a more constant implant and or a ligament release will not decrease the 5 to 10 year implant survival and functional scores. The undercorrected knees don't fail more than the aligned knees at 8 years in a fixed severe valgus total knee replacement. Some surgeons recommend a lateral parapatellar approach for the valgus knee. They do Z-plasty of the capsule through the lateral and release of the lateral structures that decrease the pressure on the common peroneal nerve. After incision of the skin through the lateral knee, the iliotibial band was prolonged by crusting. Joint capsule was cut open laterally 2 to 4 cm from the parapatellar edge. Soft tissue balance was performed by releasing IT band in a Gerdy tubercle, lateral collateral ligament and posterior lateral capsule from the femur and tibial side. Valgus angle of the distal femur cutting were 5 degree. Wide side line and the transepicondral line were used as a AP rotation cutting reference. All patellar of the group were resurfaced. Capsular closure was completed with the knee flexed. The expanded deep lateral soft tissue sleeve is sutured with a medial retinacular sleeve. According to them, lateral approach is an effective way to correct the deformity. Coming to the conclusion, doing a total knee replacement in a severe valgus is a technically difficult challenge. It requires correction of the both osseous and ligamentous abnormalities. Recent advances in instrumentation have made bone resection and alignment easier but don't address the ligament balancing issues. The soft tissue release described favor valgus deformity is not a technically demanding and has consistently produced excellent long-term results and good radiographic outcome. Undercorrection is acceptable.